Okay, let's continue our countdown. Here are numbers 24 through 19. Number 24, Treehouse of Horror 35. Yeah, I hope I wasn't too hard on this intro. I thought it was kind of weird, maybe not my cup of tea. As far as the information rage goes, it's very obviously a metaphor for the 2024 election, which still continues to be pretty timely. And so I have to give it credit for that. But I just found the story just was not really that much enjoyable, and maybe it's because the Pacific Rim seems like it came out quite a while ago. It feels like, I don't know, every time The Simpsons does this, I kind of go like, you're doing this satire now? And maybe that's kind of how I felt when I first initially saw what they were going for with this. I think that this saves it from going into my worst list because I think it is a very relevant storyline. But there's been a lot of debate on how relevant The Simpsons are today. But I'm surprised this one is so high. As for The Fall of the House of Monty, I'm not familiar with the source material. I'm guessing that this probably takes more from The Fall of the House of Usher. I think there's a Netflix show or something like that, a very modern day vision of it that they're going for. I don't know how true that is to the source material, which I can't remember if it's Edgar Allan Poe or Nathaniel Hawthorne who wrote the book. But unfortunately, this sketch just boiled down to a lot of ghosts just saying boo, and that just kind of really didn't really turn me on all that much. It just kind of felt like there really wasn't much to this thing as far as any depth goes. I mean, it's just rich person gets what's theirs. So yeah. And this, of course, leads to Denim, which I'm not really a big fan of the Venom franchise, but I gotta admit, I mean, I can't help but like what they were doing here with the... I think I might have said these are live action genes. I don't know how they did this effect. It's probably computer animation. It was probably the easiest way to do this effect. But even then, it looks like a challenge to get it, and they really blended it in pretty well. So I think I complained about the Coralisa sketch not blending in the two animation elements, but dang, they did it on this one, like really good. Also, I kind of like the time period on this thing, or as far as like the whole background here on this. It's a really good kind of interesting thing going on here. So yeah, I guess I'd rate this thing in the mid-tier level that I'm putting it in. So yeah, which is pretty good for later Simpsons episodes, really. Number 23, Treehouse of Horror 36, and this is the most recent one, time of recording. And I have to admit, maybe this would have gone lower if not for certain things, because I think a lot of people, and I've said this before, Simpsons is almost kind of begging to be canceled now, and with the new movie coming out, or the Simpsons movie 2, maybe that'll give a sense of closure. It's been renewed for like a 40th season, and honestly, there's only so much you can do with this, but Treehouse of Horror always finds some new spin that they can throw on there, which is kind of cool. This big thing with the Blob / Jaws kind of a blend kind of works, and I do like the 70s setting that they're putting in, and I actually like seeing Lou as the main character in this thing, which I thought, I don't know if they've done any much shows on Lou, but yeah, seeing Homer as this kind of grease salesman and him slapping Bart with his hat all the time just was not funny at all, and not sure what they wanted to do. I guess they just wanted to get Homer in the sketch any way possible, so yeah, which then leads to Clown Night with the Devil, and yeah, I wish I had seen the source material on this. This happens a lot when I was viewing these things, where I view this and I go like, okay, I've never seen the source material on this, so I have to go by what I'm seeing here. And unfortunately, this is one of these sketches that just sort of just ends in massacre and carnage, which a lot of these things just sort of end with, which is, I think, a weakness of these Treehouse of Horror segments, is they do sort of end like that. I feel like if the writers get stuck in a block, they just go with the, okay, everybody just kills each other sort of thing. And yeah, it gets very violent and stuff like that, and and some people love that sort of stuff, some people don't. I do like the ending of this thing, which I actually thought was actually pretty good. I thought that was pretty awesome. Now, Plastic World, though, I mean, this is just ambitious. The element, I mentioned something about the Denim sketch on the last one I did, about how they're able to blend the two elements. This one just goes out of its way to blend and just make it really work. I was so surprised when I saw the end product of this, thinking like, oh my gosh, I don't know how much work was put into this. And I do like kind of the whole world building they've created. It's almost kind of like I don't know, Waterworld mixed with Mad Max or something. So yeah, and then it just gets even greater as far as its effects go. And they blend these things so well, I just felt like, wow, even though I might not, I mean, I didn't put this in my worst list. I mean, I think it's definitely mid-tier just because of whatever they've got here. So, yeah, all in all, pretty good episode for the most recent one. That's a good thing to say. Number 22, Treehouse of Horror 27. Now, I gotta admit, the intro of this seemed kind of weak, because I think they just did an intro like this, like the last time they did it or something, where Frank Grimes was trying to kill the Simpsons again. This time they just had more people trying to kill him. This is the 600th episode, so, I mean, what can I say? I mean, I guess they want to do something really good. I don't know how many shows actually get a 600th episode. The Planet of the Apes thing was pretty good, and this one, Dry Hard, was very intriguing, but I found out that they had to really skip certain elements of the Hunger Games story just to tell it. This is compressed storytelling. One minute, Mr. Burns is saying, hey, I need kids to fight each other. Then we see Lisa just dressing up. There's no, like, I volunteer as tribute scene. There's no nothing. There's just, like, suddenly this is it. There's so much happening in this one that I think this is a weakness of a lot of Treehouse of Horror things, is they try and compact so much into one of their little stories that I kind of wish they would just do more things like, say, the Not It thing, where they just take it and they tell the whole story. Anyway, as far as BFF RIP, I have to admit, I kind of like this story as far as, like, I think I've mentioned before that sometimes the Treehouse of Horror can succeed at being just straight up horror and no comedy. This is one that I actually think just succeeds at being that. So sometimes something made it higher in the list because it had one good story, even though the other two stories were not that good. And in this case, I rated this one highly because that it just had this sort of interesting concept here, and about imaginary friends and stuff like that. And I actually think there are, like, horror movies now that deal with imaginary friends and kind of making them the villain. And the way it ends, I have to admit, is very unusual, but I liked it. As for Mofinger, yeah, I got a soft spot in my heart for this one. I mean, I love James Bond, and I think next month I want to cover, like, all James Bond films, maybe. Don't quote me on that. But this is more the Kingsman, the Secret Service satire, but it still works as just a satire of the Bond thing altogether. And it's kind of cool to see the Simpsons deal with the spy-fi genre. I actually think the Treehouse of Horror is probably the only place they can really do that at. And the idea that Moe is kind of the head of the Secret Service agency, and then Homer was a part of it, and then Bart is now the, whatever the name of the Eggsy, I think of the name of the Kingsman main character was, is even good, and is even better. And I like this whole thing about, the plot is very weak. It's deliberately weak, kind of like, say, Austin Powers or something like that. It's, yeah. And again, it ends with a lot of violence, which I didn't really prefer, but hey. The song at the end I could take or leave. Number 21, Treehouse of Horror 13. Yeah, this is where they first started titling it Treehouse of Horror. So hey, you got that for that. Now, the opening, of course, with the seance wasn't really anything, but then again, these openings are usually just kind of throwaway gags, and by that I mean, like, you could easily not have them in there and just make longer stories, and maybe they should do that. As far as Send in the Clones go, yeah, this is just a funny one because it's just a funny subject. What if Homer had the ability to clone himself? This is something that was kind of dealt with again in Loutbreak, which was one that I think is higher in the list here. But as far as, like, what you could do with this, yeah, it's essentially taking what they couldn't do in the movie Multiplicity, a film that I never really liked, and though I haven't really seen it in a while. So yeah, as far as, like, everything they could do, and if there's the Peter Griffin cameo, and then there's all the stuff you could do with Homer's clones, it's funny. The Fright to Creep and Scare Harms is a storyline that I gotta admit, it just doesn't really, it goes nowhere. It absolutely just kind of, like, it just deals with, like, these zombie cowboys who just come up out of the grave, and as far as I know, it's not really, I mean, it's one of those times where The Simpsons tries to do a very original story, but what was the point of this again? I just kind of, it's one of those stories that just kind of, like, and where everyone gives up their guns and then they actually have to face a real foe, so they need the guns again. And I'm kind of going like, okay, is this supposed to bring up gun control? Is like, sometimes The Simpsons is very good about having a good message in them, kind of like South Park does. But in this case, I really didn't really see much of a message. And so there's just kind of, like I said, there's a seed of a good idea in this story, but it just doesn't really go anywhere. So, hey. Now, The Island of Dr. Hibbert, yeah, I gotta admit, this is just one of those stories that it's like, this is just an excuse for the Simpsons to get all, I don't know, is the word anthro, where they just kind of make them half man, half animal or something like that. In other words, they just sort of like, just mix them together. And seeing Marge as the Catwoman, of course, is gonna like bring up a lot of people's certain interests. So I'm sure there are some people that really like this one. And I have to admit, this one has a lot of really funny moments. So yeah. As far as the overall point goes, I mean, I'm not very familiar with the source material. I know it was remade in a movie like with Marlon Brando, like back in the 90s, but I never watched it. So yeah, I just kind of like went like, okay, I guess I can kind of see where you're going with this. Yeah, hey, not very highly, but it's not a bad episode. Number 20, Treehouse of Horror 18. Now, I actually did like the cold open for this as far as like its creativity, because I used to hate those little things that used to appear in the bottom of the screen. And it's something I don't do anymore because honestly, nobody's even watching TV right now. They're all streaming it. But anyway, the E.T. Go Home, yeah, I kind of felt like somebody had to pitch this and kind of go, let's just do E.T. And they kind of went like, let's just have Bart as Elliot and just get one of our aliens here because we always have to put them in as a cameo. And yeah, Kane and Kodos always are shoehorned in as cameos. So they might as well just put him as part of the storyline. The idea of him like traveling on a Bart's bike, I just think that's probably how this was pitched. Somebody just drew that and they went like, okay, that's funny. Let's make a whole episode devoted to it. I was surprised at how dark this episode kind of got, so strangely enough. Mr. and Mrs. Simpson, I gotta admit, I liked because I enjoyed the Mr. and Smith movie, the one with Brad Pitt, not the series. But I did like the levels of action that this went to, and there are a lot of funny moments in this. When Homer and Marge kind of have the standoff in the Simpsons house, I mean, it feels really, really dynamic, and this is just one of those times where it's like, okay, well, I don't care about the storyline, it's just great to see this kind of thing. But I'm not sure I like the direction where Marge just randomly kills Chief Wiggum, but hey, that's where that goes. And then the ending was actually pretty strong too, so yeah, very good story. So that's kind of how I felt about that. So that leads us to Heck House, I think the worst story of the bunch. There's not really much to this storyline, and this is why this gets so low on the list here. I mean, if it's just had Mr. and Mrs. Simpson and then the E.T. Go Home here, I probably would have rated this one higher if this sketch had been better. But it really isn't. It's just, it doesn't even make any sense. Like, they make the church into one of those hell houses that I don't even want to do research as far as like how many churches have done this, but for some reason Ned gets satanic powers. I guess they just really liked him as the devil in the Devil and Mr. Simpson, which is one of their better episodes, which, as you probably realize, is a lot higher on this list. But yeah, it doesn't really go anywhere after this, and this is unfortunately one of the weaknesses of the Treehouse of Horror, which I mentioned before, that they start off with a really good idea, but then they just have to suddenly end it. And it just kind of like goes like, well, I wanted more here. Couldn't you just give me more? It's like, nope, we only got this amount of time in this amount of space. So, yeah. Number 19, Treehouse of Horror 12. And this is, I know I kind of messed up when I put part 11 on this thing. And you can, sorry. But the opening of this was just kind of crazy, and it just went in all different directions. And sometimes that actually works. Other times it's just so chaotic, it just works against it, and I think that's what happened here. X in the City is one of those where just Homer ruins somebody's business, and then as a result, he receives some consequences for it. There really isn't much here as far as like, I kind of felt like this is a pretty weak premise. I mean, essentially where the kids get curses on them, and of course he always puts, the funny part is the curses, and they go all out with that. And I like the leprechaun character, and I don't know if this is the first time he's appeared, but every time he appears he's always pretty hysterical. So yeah, I'm not really sure. House of Wax, though, I actually think is a good story as far as the whole smart house thing. It's one you can probably tell now, and I think there's a lot of really good, there's a lot of really cool stuff you can do with this storyline. Having Pierce Brosnan actually helps. This is one of those times where the guest star kind of plays himself, but plays himself so well that it's like, I don't really care that you're just calling him out by name. So yeah, as far as how it goes, as far as the violence is concerned, I mean, I think the storyline progresses pretty well, and I think the ending is also pretty good as well. So yeah, they crafted a really good storyline with this. What can I say? Now this kind of leads to the very interesting Whiz Kids, which I gotta admit is, they could easily do a sequel to this or something like that. But with Harry Potter being in that kind of, I think it's being rebooted as a HBO series or something like that. And I know they've casted it, and I know that and plus I know from what we know about J.K. Rowling, maybe people don't really want to be looking at Harry Potter anymore. But I mean, this did it like before. Yeah, I mean, I think I mentioned in this thing that he has a snake henchman, which was something that didn't happen, and definitely didn't happen in the movies at the time. I didn't realize that the fourth book was out by this time and had been out for about a year, so they had time to sort of kind of figure that out. So chances are they were going by the sources of the books alone, because the first movie had not been released yet. It's pretty good for what it is. So yeah. This ending, though, this credit thing, and where it's really interesting. It was a very intriguing bumper, but yeah, I kind of wish they brought back the framing device. But I've talked about that framing device before here. But yeah,